Well, Mr. Simonson, how you're enjoying the Comic Con so far?
Having a great time. Hello to all my fans in Brazil.
I saw you yesterday on the panel with Stanley. It was very emotional because I'm a big fan of Stanley and you and Chris and also Kevin. And we saw that you, Stan and Chris, and you all guys that worked at Marvel in the 70s, 80s, you really had a good relationship, and it was such a fun world to be in.
It was a lot of fun, and it was really, Stan set the tone for the company, I think, but even when he was not there so much anymore. The time I was working at, he wasn't there. But he set the tone for the company. It was very freewheeling. It was a great place to be creative. We just had, comics made a lot less money in the old days, but it was enormously fun. And we had a great time. My friends and I all had a great time being there, doing the work. It was just an exciting time to be doing comics. And I think we were able to convey that to Stan. I think he thought the panel was going to be more funny and not quite so serious in a way, although we kept it light. And I think he was touched by it, which is good because we really wanted to express what we thought about him and the way the company that we worked for that he helped to create. So it was great. It was really neat. As far as I can tell, people enjoyed it in general. People that went there.
Yesterday you also said that you like the Nordic mythology, and that's why you like Thor. And
that's right.
Today, people like Thor because of the superhero. How was to work with a character, and in doing a superhero way, a character that you liked it so much?
It was awesome. Two things. One, when I was a kid, my parents had a book on Norse mythology, a grown-up book, which I read and loved. They had little bits of poetry, and it was like from 1893 or 92. So, because I'm older, so it wasn't that long ago when I was young. It was a long way. It was a long time back. And so I knew the Norse myths, really liked them. And when I found the comic, I went nuts. I thought, wow, Norse myths, fabulous. And then after I discovered Marvel's Thor, I became a regular Marvel reader. Thor was always my favorite comic. So I loved the Fantastic Four, I loved Spider-Man, I loved Iron Man, read everything. Thor was it for me. So, I don't know, 14 years or thereabouts, maybe a little longer, after I'd finished, I read them, and I was in comics. I got a chance to write and draw for myself. I got to live my dream. I got to be the character I really wanted to do, and I did it in a way that I wanted. What set Thor apart for me from the other Marvel comics was the mythology, was the background. So when I did it, I was able to bring in a bunch of Norse mythology, maybe more than had been in the book before. And you just do that stuff, you don't know how it's going to work out. In that case, it worked out pretty well. It gave the book a real flavor that I think was different from the other comics coming out at the time. But I was able to keep it grounded on the Earth, with adventures on Earth as well as on Asgard, and it worked out all right.
And you had such a great period with Thor. People like it so much because it really was so good. I wanted to ask you about what do you think the superheroes represented at your time when you read the comics? And I'm not calling you an old guy.
I am an old guy. It's okay. The answer is I have no idea. What they represented was fun. They were fun from Marvel Comics, especially in the mid-60s when I was in school. They were fun. They were light. They were entertaining. You could invest a lot in the character. They were like good fiction in a way. They were characters you enjoyed spending time with. And that's really what comics were for me. And the continued stories just made them, you wanted to keep reading them. It was like potato chips. It was hard to eat just one. You wanted to keep on month after month after month. And Marvel was extremely good at ending on cliffhangers that drove you nuts until the next month. I will say one quick story. I read 2 issues of Thor together, my first 2 issues of Thor. It ended on a cliffhanger with Thor being clocked by the absorbing man and lying in the ground. And you're thinking, oh, Thor is doomed. And at the time, I didn't know where to find Marvel Comics. So I never got the next issue. And weeks went by, and I knew I had missed the issue. So I wrote to Marvel Comics. It's a letter I don't have a copy of. I'm happy about that. And I went, oh, can I? And there were no comic shops. Nobody had comics for sale to speak of. I didn't know anything about that world at all. But none of that stuff really existed at the time. No organized fandom. And so I wrote Marvel, and I asked for any way I could buy a copy of During the Mystery 122 because I had missed it and it was making me crazy. And I got 124. I did find that when it came out. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, a manila envelope comes in the mail. It has a copy of During the Mystery 122, 122. I read it. There was a little note, a little printed note. It said, "Dear," and its old name, Walt. And then in handwriting below it said, "Couldn't let you down. Hope you enjoyed the issue. Stan and the gang." I asked her later, Flo Steinberg, who was the girl Friday at Marvel Comics back in those days, it's her handwriting. She saw my letter. She sent me the comic. I was a Marvel fanatic from that moment on.
And what do you think they represent now? And do you read superhero comics today?
I don't read a lot of comics anymore. The one comic I really read is Yosagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai. It's about a rabbit samurai. It's funny animals, what we call funny animals here. It's really serious. Some of the issues are funny, some of them are, but it's like the Donald Duck work or the Uncle Scrooge work of Carl Barks. It's adventure and it's comedy and it's all the stuff good stories should be. Well-researched samurai comic set in the feudal period of Japan with animals as the samurai, but after a while, it's just the stories. I read that comic for the same reason I read comics when I was young. Good stories, well told, well drawn. They're black and white comics. He's been doing it for a million years. There are a lot of books available, a lot of collections. Can't recommend highly enough. These days, comics are a very different entity these days. The major companies are much more corporate, much more business-like, much more run by business, which is cool, but it doesn't have the freedom it once had when I was doing Marvel Comics or DC Comics back in the 70s. Now, I miss that, but I'm doing an IDW comic. I'm doing my own version of Thor now for IDW called Ragnarok, in which is a post-Ragnarok story of this guy right here, as it happens. And so I'm able to go back into the stories I want to do. It's more mythologically intensive, and I'm just trying to tell stories. I just try to tell stories that I would enjoy in the hope that if you read them, you would enjoy them. And that's what I did back in the old days on Thor. It's what I do now on Ragnarok.
Thank you, Walt, for all your work with the comics and what you did with it, and you really helped the comics to be what they are today.
It's been my pleasure. I love doing it. I hope to do it for a long time to come.
Thank you.